Hello friends. So today we will do this poem on his blindness by John Milton. It's a very famous poem, and it's a very inspiring poem also. And this poem John Milton had written, um, inspired by his real events which took place in his life. The real event was a tragic event that he went blind, that he lost his eyesight. And he lost his eyesight because he had been working too much, reading day and night, and till late nights he used to work. And because of that, he possibly lost his eyesight. And in this poem, he's very sad, he's very worried. And he shows that through this poem, he shows his mental state, and he explains to us that he's so worried that and so sad that what he would do in life and how would he serve God whom he want to serve now that he has turned blind. So before we start it further, let's first see the structure of this poem. This poem is a patriarchal sonnet. It consists of 14 lines. In the first 8 lines a problem will be raised, and the last 6 lines the solution for that problem would be provided. And the first 8 lines, the problem being raised is that he's discussing that he has turned blind, and he's very sad, and he's very upset that how he would go further and serve God. And in the next last 6 lines he will be provided a solution to that. So let's begin about on this poem on his blindness by John Milton. So he says that when I consider how my life light is spent, half my days in this dark world and wide. So he says that when he's thinking that his life light has been spent, it means he has lost his eyesight. And even before half of his days he had seen, that means that at a young age, even before he had seen half of his life, he is already blind. And in this big world, in this dark world, what will he do? And that talent, his talent of reading, his talent of writing, through which he wanted to serve God, and that talent which death would have taken from him and death would have hidden from him, that talent today has been turned useless. So this is what he's saying, that light has been spent even before half of his life he had seen, and the world is so dark now, the world is large, and this single talent which he had, with which he wanted to serve the God, and which one day death might have taken, that has been rendered useless, and that has been lodged into him. It means that talent will never be able to come out now, and it's useless. He's sad, and he's saying that his soul, that means his inner voice, is still bent. It means his inner voice still wants to serve the God. He using this word maker, that God has made and created all human beings. So he want to serve God with his with his talent of reading, writing, or whatsoever the talent related to his intelligence, his creativity, etc. But those talents have been turned useless because he's blind, and he still want to serve the God, but so that when he dies and when he faces God, and when God sees and evaluates his true account, it means when God makes an evaluation on all those activities which he has done on the planet, then God should not be angry at him. The poet does not want God to chide. It means poet does not want that God should be angry at him when he dies. And in this state, when he's still trying to still wish to serve God, he just raises a question, and he says that does God exact day labor? It means, does God demand day labor? Does God expects people that they be busy throughout their day for them, and especially even those people who for whom the light has been denied, that is, even those people who are blind? Does God expect those people to be busy throughout the day in some laborious activity, in some work for him? That is, should even those people be working for him? I fondly ask. It means the poet is just raising this question. he's not he's not rebelling against the God. He in fact he loves God. His inner voice says that it wants to serve the God. See here, he says the soul is still bent to serve the Maker. He still wants to serve the God, so that when he dies, the God is not angry at him. God is not upset at him. So this is what the poet is very perturbed and sad and worried about. Now he will get a solution, and who would provide a solution to him? That is the patience. It means the poet needs to be patient. Now patience here will is being personified. We see patience is being personified, and in this way patience starts talking to the poet. Patience here intervenes to stop this murmuring, because it's not that it's crushing that murmuring, it just means that patience tries to reduce the pain and the agony which the poet was facing. And patience says to the poet that God is not greedy. God is not in need of man. It's not that God needs man. It's not that God is waiting for you to bring some gifts. It's not that God has some dependency on you. It's not that like that. God does not need you. And it's a human being who needs God. It's not that God needs human being. God does not need human being. God does not need man's work or man's gifts. But he needs something else. He wants something else. And he wants that we just don't forget him, or we don't forget the rules and the regulations which have been spelled by him. So these rules and regulations which are like a yoke. Well, now what is a yoke? A yoke is a wooden piece which is placed upon the animals to control them, to put them in some form of discipline, so that they are not chaotic, so that they don't they don't act as per their animal spirit, so that they have some sort of something which civilizes them. So basically yoke here refers to the dictates of the God, the will of the God, the the what God has spelled out in religious scriptures. That is what yoke means. And now see two words which mean quite opposite of each other. Mild is something which means something soft, something which should not hurt. Yoke is something which might hurt. Yoke, because yoke is hard, it brings discipline. But when the poet says mild yoke, he means to say that God, what God expects us to abide by, those rules, regulations, they are not hard, because all that God wants from us is that we just keep thinking about him. So these things actually poet is not telling us directly. Poet is telling us through through patience, which has been personified. So here patience is speaking. Patience has been personified, which says that God is not dependable upon man's work. God does not need gifts from the man. God does not need tributes from the man. It's human nature. It's human beings who demand tributes or who demand gifts from other human beings. It's not God who would do that. God is like a king. The patient says that God is kingly. God is like a king, and thousands at his bidding speed. Thousands and thousands it will quickly dispatch. They will quickly transfer over land, over oceans, to spread his message, to spread his fame, to spread the faith in God. Post means just quickly they will dispatch over land and oceans. It means that people should spread the name of God, or faith in God, or the values which the God wants to promote in the world. In the last, Patience says this statement which has been very famous, that they also serve who only stand and wait. So by this statement, Patience is trying to calm down the poet and reminding him that even you can serve God, because they also serve God who only stand. They also serve God who only stand and wait for him, who stand in with a commitment to Him. That is, patience want to say that even if you are um, blind, or no matter whether you're blind or with whatever uh, problem, physical problem you're facing, or any kind of problem you're facing, just try to think of God, just try to be loyal towards God in whatever capacity you can be. It's not necessary to write or do some work for which you need an eyesight. If you don't have an eyesight, don't worry. Or if you have some other problem due to which you can't do a particular work for God, it's fine. God does not need those things. God just wants your love for Him. So this is the was an interpretation of this poem. Now we will quickly do a literary analysis of this poem. So as we see that there's a Petrarchan sonnet. When I said Petrarchan sonnet, it means that a poem which is being written in 14 lines, and in these 14 lines, the first 8 lines, as I said, a problem had been raised, that the poet was blind and he didn't know how he could serve the God. In the last 6 lines, the solution has been provided to the poet, that you can still serve the God even if you just stand still and stay loyal to Him. So this is a Petrarchan sonnet, and the rhyme scheme is in the octave it is A B B A A B B A. In the sestet it's C D E C D E. So in octave it's A B B A. This means if we divide the octave further in group of 2, that's 4 lines and 4 lines, it means first line, the last word of first line will rhyme with the last word of the fourth line, and last word of second line would rhyme with the last word of the third line. That's what we can see here. For example, we can see this. Let's see here. So we see that spent rhymes with bent, wide rhymes with height. So first line, fourth line, second line, third line. That's why we say first, fourth lines are rhyming, and second and third lines are rhyming. Similarly, fifth and eighth line and sixth and seventh line rhymes with each other in the octave. And in the sestet, it's the need which would rhyme with speed, that is C would rhyme with C, D would rhyme with D, that means best would rhyme with rest, and similarly state would rhyme with weight. So this is the rhyming pattern, and that's why we call it a Petrarchan sonnet. And usually Petrarchan sonnets are being written to glorify romance, to discuss love and romance with your beloved and all. But here the poet uses this format to discuss his love for God. That's an innovation which he brings in. Next tool is for literary, as a figure of speech which the poet uses, is personification. And here we see, as we've seen, that patience has been shown as if it's a human being or some sort of living creature who is talking to the poet. So patience talks like a human being. And then we see that there are 2 meanings of light. See, in the first line, which we just saw here, that when I consider how my light is spent. So it could mean 2 things. The light here could mean 2 things. Light could mean either light could mean his eyesight, or light could mean his lives before he was blind. It means that his light is spent, light is gone. It means his eyesight is gone, and second, all happiness and everything good in his life has also vanished. So there are the 2 meanings which can be constructed out of light. So there are a couple of some important facts if you need them. That John Milton, this was his date of birth. He was born in 1608 and he died in 1674. So and he written this poem in 1655, and this poem was published around 1673, around 1 year before his death. And the summary for this poem could be that Milton is sad and worried due to blindness, and that he will not be able to carry on with God's work. But his patience tells him that God is not greedy of his gifts, and even his idleness is useful to God if he retains his faith in God. So that's the message which this poem wants to convey, and that's a very beautiful message. It shows us that no matter how much turbulent or how much bad times we are going through, we must not lose faith in God. We must have patience, and with in whatever capacity we can serve God, in whatever capacity we can think of Him, that's what we should do. And that's one. These are some of the interpretations for the poem. So with this, I end this video here. I hope this was beneficial to you, and it would be good if you could provide your feedback to this. So whether it's good or bad. Um, so and after that, wish you good reading. Okay, take care. Bye bye.